Okay, now the tape is rolling. Hi folks, good to see ya. Lion Faced Guru podcast here with another episode. As always, we've been making these podcasts in a quite lazy fashion, with a lazy, or let's say slow, slow rhythm. And I think this is the second episode we are publishing this year of 2026. However, new episodes are on their way, so just stay tuned. So in case if this is a new podcast to some of you listeners, my name is Baba, and I'm the founder of a yogic meditation, tantric yoga method called Open Heart. I've been doing this for nearly 20 years, teaching full-time. I am Finnish by origin, now live in Southern Europe, in Slovenia. And so what we have been discussing on this podcast since we started it in 2017, I highly recommend you to listen previous episodes if this is a new podcast for you. So there's lots of practical information and really down to earth, solid information about variety of things. But something that we started earlier this year with my interview, actually, Nataraj Chris was interviewing myself. We started this series called Enlightened Westerner Series. And more episodes of this series are coming, and what we are doing in this series, this is the second one in this Enlightened Westerner series. What we are doing is that we are interviewing members of our Sangha, our community, who have successfully finished their purification practice. And to explain this a bit more, to make it understandable to those of you who are new to Open Heart, who are new to our teachings and our view of practice, I need to explain a little bit so that you understand what we are discussing here in this interview with my good friend and student Bodhi. And I will introduce Bodhi in a second. But just a little bit, if you're unfamiliar with what we do in Open Heart. So first of all, we practice in a non-secretive, completely open manner. So we don't keep secrets in Open Heart. Maybe we are poor keeping secrets. So we talk about practice and our experiences completely openly, and especially when it comes to awakening experiences and these shifts and cessations. Cessation is a technical term, very central term in the art of yoga and meditation, internal yoga and meditation, that is. So we talk about all these core concepts and experiences completely openly, and this to make this information accessible to more people is why we started this podcast in the first place. And those of you who have listened through all the episodes since 10 years ago, you know that we have gone through the path of awakening, path of purification, path of transformation in logical fashion from the beginning. And now our Sangha is in a, let's say, final stages of this process where we already have 10 students who have finished purification of mind and subtle body, or what we call in Open Heart causal body and astral body. So these non-physical bodies of thought and emotion and subtle energy. So we have 10 people who have already finished this mind and subtle body purification, returning them to their natural state. And then we have one student who have finished purification of all three bodies. So mind, subtle body and physical body, or like we call them in Open Heart, causal body, astral body and physical body. And that one student is Mr. Bodhi here from Sweden. So a few months ago, well, we will get to this, get into the details of Bodhi's story and his experience, but few months ago, we are filming this in the early August of 26, and we had the annual spring retreat in Switzerland in mid-April. So 3-4 months ago, on the retreat in Switzerland, his physical body popped open. And maybe I will explain this a little bit here to make it more understandable. So all human beings, we all have these three different bodies. Like usually in Buddhism, they just say mind, that it is in the mind where wisdom or emptiness is realized. It is the subtle body where negative emotions and trauma is purified or healed. And then there's the physical body also that gets affected by the subtle bodies that at some point has to open up, because the physical body is affected by what happens in the subtle body, like in terms of selfishness, and especially psychological trauma. It has an impact on the physical body, and even if the subtle bodies, non-physical bodies of ours, mind and subtle body, are open and active, pure, have been returned to the original purity, the physical body can still be, let's say, shut or closed. So this is nothing new, this is not a new theory. It's an ancient theory. We are talking about timeless principles of enlightenment and purification practice. So this is definitely anything new, but perhaps new to our listeners might be that we are talking about this openly, and we are using perhaps different terms that one is used to, like for example what Buddhist practitioners are used to. But in any case, so whether in some other systems might use a different theory. They might be talking about 3 bodies or 4 or 5 bodies. They might have a different theory, but let's just say that we are talking about the full scope of mind and full scope of psyche and full scope of physical body here. And that means that we are talking about the so-called full enlightenment here. I have in recent years, I have started to use this English term full enlightenment, although the word enlightenment alone should be good for it. But I felt like starting to use this term full enlightenment because the word enlightenment gets thrown around so much. So just to be clear, here we are talking about the full enlightenment, which in Buddhism, in Mahayana Buddhism, it's called Sambodhi, and a longer version of that is Anuttara Samyak Sambodhi, which means like a supreme transcendent enlightenment. So this is what we are talking about here. And so when we are talking about full realization of wisdom through emptiness, when we are talking about illuminating all forms of selfishness and negative emotion, including psychological trauma, and opening of the physical body, then we are talking about the full scope of enlightenment, what is possible for us. And a few months ago when we were in Switzerland, like I said, that Bodhi, you finished emptiness / wisdom practice in 2022 or 2023, something like that.
Mm-hmm.
And so that was the first stage for him, wisdom emptiness 2022. And then late last year or early this year, you finished subtle body purification, so causal body, astral body, and then on that spring retreat in Switzerland in April this year, your physical body popped open. So I'm curious to hear myself. We have been in touch a little bit the past few months, but I'm curious to hear about the changes that you have felt in your physical body after that opening, after that shift in Switzerland. But we'll get to that later. So I just wanted to remind everybody or introduce this basic view of spiritual practice and what is where it's supposed to lead, and most importantly, what's possible for all of us. Because we all have this fundamental nature, pure nature, Buddha nature, true self. So this has been my passion in my work, that I have tried to make sense when I've been creating this method, this open heart method. It has been a priority for me to try to find practices and try to understand the mechanisms, the ins and outs, how this all works, so that we can have kind of like a system, like a machine that would mechanically work, no matter who you are, man or woman, young or old, east or west, north or south, whoever you are, wherever you come from. And of course, also including trauma healing practices. So this has been my work for a couple of decades now. I've been practicing much longer, of course, but I wanted to put together a method, and I've been blessed to have been guided by my masters, because without them I couldn't have done it. But what we are seeing now, after these 18 years of myself teaching and doing this work, putting the method together, that we are finally getting to the point where our members of our community start arriving at that three bodies completely open, getting to that final fruit, getting to this enlightenment. And we're gonna keep this discussion down to earth and as understandable and as relatable as possible. But something that is really, really, really important to understand, which often gets forgotten in these discussions, is that we all have the same fundamental pure nature. We all have it. But if we don't have effective practices that enable us to reveal it, to open that gift, so to speak, then that nature will be impeded. It will be covered. It will not flower openly. It will not bloom. But if we have techniques that enable us to establish this natural state in these three bodies, then we are talking about full enlightenment or enlightenment. And it is important to understand that, just like myself, I'm a layman. We are not married with Rani, but we are probably getting married soon. But I also have children, I have bills to pay. Bodhi is also a layman. So so this is possible for everybody. It is possible within a reasonable frame of time. So this is very important for people to know, and I hope that listeners of this podcast really think carefully of these things and consider this seriously. Okay, so now going to Bodhi. So welcome, Bodhi. Bobby, I like to call him Bobby. So Bodhi is a Swede from Sweden, from Stockholm. He's a layman. He has a full-time job as an IT professional.
Guy,
What's that?
IT guy.
IT guy. That's right. That's how
Yeah.
you always say it. He's a family man. He has a lovely wife and three small children. They have a house just outside Stockholm, and he's a completely ordinary guy. And uh, we've known each other for about 10 years. Now you've been practicing with me for about 10 years, and I'm really happy that you have gotten the fruit, the ultimate fruit from this practice. So welcome.
Crazy. Yeah. Thank
Yeah.
you. Thank you, Baba. Thank you so much. Thank
So
you. Yeah.
so let's go back to the beginning. So let's talk about your life story, your childhood, youth, and spiritual search.
Hmm. Okay. I know from my birth that it was terrible. I did have a terrible birth, with C-section, and was separated from my mother early on.
Mm,
So right there set the stage
mhm.
for um, to grow from that. So that's what my life grew upon, you could say. That was the basis. But I grew up in a uh, very normal Swedish household. Nothing that really sticks out other than I moved abroad for a little bit as a kid. Twice I was away, first as a baby for 2 years, and then when I was 8, we also moved to another country, and I had to learn English there, and it was yeah, it was a difficult time for the first period, but I got into it, and eventually we moved back to Sweden, and um, back to the life that I knew from before, and this context that I was born to. Yeah.
Was it, we were just discussing about your early life with Rani yesterday, and was it that you lived in Croatia or somewhere in
Yes.
Croatia?
So yeah, correct. So in '95, we moved to Croatia. Um, my father has worked in telecom, so it was about rebuilding after the Yugoslavian
Right.
collapse and the conflicts after that. So we moved there then, and yeah, that also was definitely a shock for me to kind of come into from this Swedish world where everything is cotton and what is it, like bubble wrapped environment where everything is super safe, and so going there to this post-war kind of atmosphere, and not knowing the language and that. So yeah, there was definitely some difficulty there that I think not everybody get to experience.
Mm.
So that kind of sticks out. So yeah. So we lived in Zagreb. So we lived there for 2 years. So and um,
How about
that
your
was
teen?
definitely.
I was just going to ask you about your
Mm.
teenage. Like, when did
Mhm.
you? How was how was that? How did you become a spiritual seeker? How did that?
Yeah. So I was pretty much in my teens. I was so when we got back, I was about 10 years old, and I had a difficulty fitting in. Now I had some friends that really took good care of me and helped me with it, but I mean, life had been quite different away, so there were so many customs and norms that I really wasn't used to. So um, I kind of could say like piggybacked on my friends to get through it. Um, started getting into uh, music that was really counterculture, um, but and yeah, started getting kind of. I had trouble after like high school. I had really trouble staying and doing my studies and staying focused. So the teens were, I'd say, also kind of normal. I don't think that I didn't have a big spiritual search. I started thinking about that there was more to existence, and that like this having to study stuff that I don't find immediate use for, and fitting into this world that kind of seemed unnatural in some way, at least to me. And it seemed like we all were kind of in that. It didn't really make sense to me. And I kind of understood that there's more to reality than what meets my eye. So that's kind of what happened. Especially through, yeah, the music and counterculture kind of vibe. I was drafted into the military. We had mandatory military service at 19. Kind of straightened out my back a little bit, and then I got into work into IT. Fortunately for me, or I don't know, but yeah, IT anyway is one of those things that people don't really want to deal with, and I just knew that stuff naturally, probably from my father, and my whole family is kind of into this stuff. So so I had that naturally, and I could easily make a living from that. So so that way I went into adulthood, you could say, or adolescence. Yeah, yeah.
Okay, okay. And how did it develop from there, from the spiritual
Mhm.
point of view?
Yeah, I did have at probably 20 something, 23, 24, somewhere around there. I had some drug experiences that really took me to other places, and I could see that okay, there is more, like this suspicion that I had that there's so much more than I know, and there's so much more than we know as a community. And I got very curious about that, and I kind of had to seek out that. So I became a seeker, but in my own way. I still had no connection to church. I had no connection to Buddhism or any kind of I was, let's say, I was pretty open, and but I was mostly focused on the natural sciences, like the mathematical sciences, like physics and chemistry, and trying to figure stuff out through um, numbers and logic. Um, so I followed that path. You could call it path, but I was seriously digging into what we're made of, like what.
Mhm.
And eventually I totally hit a wall there where I could see that, wait a minute, no, this doesn't lead any place at all that has any relevance to my life. It's just words, basically. It's just yeah, it doesn't change anything. Um, yeah, so and in that time I had developed quite close friendships with the people that I lived with. I lived together with other people, and then there was my closest friend. He died of suicide. So and yeah, me and my brother was among those who found him as well. So we had quite a traumatic experience from this, and this totally shattered um, my view of the world. I didn't know it at the time. I thought that I really thought that I was dealing with it the best I could, and the best that anybody could. Very arrogant about it, but um, yeah, that flipped things completely and made this very much more acute, you could say. The search for answers and the search for a meaning. Yeah. Mm.
How did it feel back then at that time? Like you talk about the acuteness. So did you have like a depression or anxiety? How did it feel like, that acuteness when it
Yeah, I remember. So they noticed at my workplace that I wasn't like after maybe let's say could be 6 months to a year. They noticed that I was just not doing well. I was kind of avoiding everything and everybody. So and they had some kind of insurance so that I could go and talk to a therapist. And I did this. And I remember some of the conversations that we had. Um, and I remember that I was saying that um, I, f- I didn't blame the suicide incident at all. I was not at all ready to realize. I thought I was kind of above that. But so what my mind decided was the issue was that I was white, that I was young guy, super privileged, had all the like everything like, on top of the world, really.
Mhm.
Like um, if you would compare on a global scale, like the privilege that I had, I felt like I was such ahead in this statistical competition, or the yeah, and this for me was something that I really had to deal with. I had to fix this. I had to use myself for the maximum kind of purpose for other people. I didn't feel at all comfortable in this um, situation or this insight that I had to my own situation. Yeah. I remember we had 10 sessions with that therapist, and I never even, it was on the last session that I even mentioned the suicide. So, yeah, yeah.
So how old you were at this point?
This was, I was probably 27 when we
Okay.
did this. Yeah.
And how old are you now?
Uh, yeah, 39. Yeah,
39. Yeah.
yeah. Hmm.
Okay, so how did it develop
Yeah.
from there?
Okay.
27.
Yeah. So I was not doing my work properly. I was spending all days researching into I yeah, I remember that eventually I gravitated toward Buddhism. And the reason for that was that the Buddha, as I saw it, had a method where other um, traditions didn't offer really quite such a,
Mm.
to me, it didn't present itself as a do this and then this will be the outcome. But it sounded to me that the Buddha tried to do that. So that stood out, and I spent basically every day uh, researching Buddhism to try and understand what this tradition is, um, which type of Buddhism was more interesting to me, and I countless hours, just countless hours, almost exclusively Wikipedia. That was the resource that I felt that I could trust because it was not based on religious views. It was based on somebody would kind of look at it from the outside and describe. Um, so that gave me some kind of trust to that source. So um, because I didn't want to waste any time, I didn't want to.
Mm.
We looking at the internet and the Buddhist communities that I saw, I couldn't find a progress that I was looking for. I couldn't find nor could I find methods like practical instructions. It was very difficult to find something that I could actually do to um, just just the shamatha instructions basically, which I did try for a little bit, but I realized that no, this is not the core of the Buddha teachings. So yeah.
How was that like? Were you getting this information and your impression about there not being methods or inspiring figures or teachers? Was it did that information or feeling come only through Wikipedia, or did you go to different uh, events or meet some teachers? How did it?
Yeah, I avoided meeting anybody from this world, from this Buddhist world, from the Buddhist scene. I really avoided it. I wanted to make my own kind of assessment of this whole scene of this. Um, to I'm not exactly sure. I also didn't have the those connections. I didn't have anybody inviting me. I didn't have any newsletter, emails, or anything like this to kind of pull me in. So I was just kind of on my own little chamber, kind of just researching the hell out of anything that I could find on the topic of Buddhism to kind of find. I wanted to find who can teach me the Buddha's teachings. Like, yeah.
But I was curious, how did you make that assessment? How
Mm,
was it
mm.
like just an intuition, like some feeling, some sense, or was it like putting information together? How did you make that
Yeah.
assessment?
Well, yeah, I could see that. Yeah, great. Yeah. So I could see that there was, um, first of all, so many people that were doing the practices without any kind of the kind I wanted. I understood that the Buddha wanted other people to know everything that the Buddha knew. Like they want to know all of it. And he wanted us to know all of it. Not just bits here and there, and not just ethics or something like this. He wanted us to see all of it. And this was lacking from any community that I was looking into, with one exception. And this was the Tibetan Buddhist lineages that to me could prove themselves via the rainbow body. The rainbow body phenomenon to me appeared as something tangible, something real, something that told me that this. I mean, such an outcome is just too.
Yeah.
Um, Somehow I believed it. Like I instantly believed that and the sources were so plentiful in this that I had no reason to doubt that this is a real thing. Um, and if that could happen, those guys would know what the Buddha wanted us to know. So so in that way, I kind of gravitated toward the Tibetan lineages. Yeah, something happened then. Yeah, to continue the story, that I before I found any kind of um, answer for myself, like where I should go. I found something else. I found a self-help method, and this showed up to me just randomly, kind of on YouTube. And there was this gentleman by the name of John Sherman. He was teaching a method, um, a very secular kind of way, secular method that he called the Just One Look method. And it was about finding a sense of what it feels like to be me, just prior to like a physical kind of feeling, like something that you can really do, just an action, just feel, just like I can feel if I'm hungry. I can feel the hunger, or I can feel the air in the room against my skin if I chose to. I can also feel this very faint but basic and yeah, simple meanness. Um, and when I heard that instruction, I did it, and I instantly knew that this is actually this is something real. This is not words. This is now experience. Now this changed me instantly, um, just by having that immediate and first hand kind of yeah insight. Then
So this would have been if. Uh, so now we're talking about something like 2014, 2015, something like
yes.
that. And that was when you started emailing me. You were living in Nicaragua, I believe, back
Mm,
then when you started sending me messages. And I remember you telling me about John Sherman. Actually, I remember that I knew John Sherman's work already from before. I had never looked into it, but I knew his name and had probably heard his interview somewhere. And I remember you being really enthusiastic about
Mm.
it and suggesting me to do the practice. And
Yeah.
it's always like sometimes I have people like young enthusiastic people send me messages that you should really look into teachings of this or that teacher.
Mm.
And it's always like I feel like
Yeah.
yeah, you know. And I just remember that you were so enthusiastic that not only about John Sherman but about other things, that it was slightly irritating for me back then, like 2015, 16, whenever it was. Yeah, but well, that happens. You know, I was probably exactly the same way when I was young. So no, nothing new there. But what I wanted to say about John Sherman is that I think he's already passed away. Peace to his soul. But what really caught my attention in his story was that he was a bank robber, and he did a long time in prison. And I think that in prison he started this transformation process, spiritual, psychological process, and that's how he, I suppose, discovered this just one look
Yeah.
practice of,
Right, right.
yeah.
I can tell it in brief. It's pretty funny, because he
Okay.
was a Buddhist. So well, he found Buddhism in jail. This is the way I remember it. But and then he had some progress there, and eventually that collapsed, and he was left really like worse than ever because his Buddhist insight had vanished. Um, so he was trying to get out of thinking that there was a solution to being so miserable all the time. So he wanted to get rid of the feeling that we could actually do something about our misery. And on that track he found the teachings of Ramana Maharishi, and he was trying to understand what it actually was that he was trying to say. And
Mm.
so he eventually he stumbled upon it, you could say, and he found a better language, you could say, to convey this action that we can do to get this sense of me that doesn't change. So um, so he was not trying to help himself. He was trying to get out of helping himself,
Mm.
and that's when it dawned on him. Yeah, but this was 2014 that I found that, and then it was a couple of years. I actually put the search for Buddhism really on the shelf for some years, and it was in 2016, in the summer of 2016. I remember I emailed you about it, and then it had kind of simmered under the surface for me, and I was really again becoming very curious about what's more and what is the teaching of the Buddha. Still, I still didn't know what he was trying to say, and yeah, I couldn't keep away.
Uh, so how was it when we started messaging in 2016? That would have been, I had already been teaching the two-part formula for 2 years. I might have been teaching about further consecutive awakenings by then, not sure. But did that just one look practice of feeling the familiarity of meanness, did that generate awakening for you or shifts?
Yes, I do believe so, because I first found the videos of Open Heart in earlier in the summer of 2016,
Hmm.
and they were videos of Ati Yoga instructions.
Hmm.
So, and when I did these, I felt that these work. Like this is actually This is digging up stuff from my subconscious mind, and this is so I immediately felt that this is authentic transformational meditation. So I emailed you some months later, and I sent a photo, and I had 3 bhumis open by then.
Okay. Yeah.
So yeah, so yes, I had awakened, and I believe I see this pattern as well if I invite my friends to look at their sense of me without any other spiritual any context whatsoever. Anyone can do that. I could see that they awakened as well after learning energy reading and such from Open Heart, yeah,
Hmm.
teachings. Yeah,
Hmm.
yeah. So
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm still quite convinced that it has this effect as well. Yeah.
Yeah. It is like in its simplicity, uh, discovering or feeling that familiar sense of me. It is very profound instruction, but at the
Mm,
same time, it is very simple. Just like
mm,
you mentioned, Ramana Maharishi, who's well, he actually taught many practices and he approved many practices. This is kind of people have this impression that he would have only taught this self-inquiry, who am I? But he actually, approved and taught and uh, gave advice for different people to practice number of different things. But
mm,
yeah, it's very simple, like the self-inquiry, who am I, or just feeling, sensing, recognizing the familiar sense of me. It's very simple. Like it has the power to really be or that it can really generate a recognition of very profound recognition, and of course that can be uh, used as a path, but
mm.
always with these very simple practices, the challenge is whether they really work, whether they keep giving fruit, or if you plateau, and this is a different question. But anyway,
It
I
is.
just wanted to say that. Yeah.
Right. Yeah, it is a different question, and it it um I do not think that it generates enlightenment in the way that we talk about enlightenment. I think that it does something else. It change well while you also awaken from it. That's kind of a side effect as I see it, to be
Yes.
completely honest. You look at yourself and you see this feeling. It kind of proves to the mind that we are okay, that we're fundamentally actually quite okay. Like it's not being alive is not a huge problem. Um, it's actually fine. We are, after all, events come and go. We go through bad things and good things, but we are also in the background fine, all the time. And this kind of insight takes a long, like from seeing oneself, takes a really long time before that becomes like
Yeah.
a background before we become aware of that all the time or become um, from day to day feels safe. Yeah,
Yeah.
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 But that's not spiritual enlightenment or the body of light, which is what we're talking about. Um, yeah. So I think it's a different kind of thing. Yeah. Mm,
Hmm.
mm, mhm.
Okay, so how about you took up open heart practices? How was that like?
Yeah, I couldn't stay away. Yeah. Mm. I remember telling in the talks that we gave on the Swiss retreat, which by the way are also available on YouTube still, I suppose.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
Open
yeah.
heart channel.
So, yeah,
Yeah.
um, that the instruction that I remember the first time that I had a connection to Guru Rinpoche. It was you, Baba, who told me to get to know Guru Rinpoche. And this was yeah, this was an instruction that hit me really, really hard. It was so simple, so plain. And to me, like as a guy who normal guy who doesn't think of gurus or like this when I was growing up, and no connection to the church or faith or anything like this, to me this was um, a stretch to begin with. Like really a stretch to think that I could do this tantric guru yoga with everything that it means to call on the guru and to feel their energy, although they are not present in the room, although they might have passed away, to feel their energy and to feel their presence. To me was pseudo-scientific and very hard to a tough pill to swallow. But since everything else that we talk about had been so well in line, and I had read all this about yeah, these kind of esoteric things that these lineages do, I was apparently ready to try it out. And I remember the first few sessions that I was calling on Guru Rinpoche, and I could actually feel in my own mind, my own body. Yeah, I followed the instructions on YouTube from you, Baba. That's what I did. Yeah, and I was impressed. Yeah, it took.
Did that, you mentioned that sometime before you felt that there was something really real and profound in the rainbow body or body of light. So was that like something that you felt like pursuing? Was that something that you wanted to find out from very early on?
Yes, yes, absolutely. Yeah, this is
Yeah.
why I eventually found back to the Buddhist path after looking at myself
Right.
and feeling kind of satisfied with that. But I still had this narrative that I needed to do whatever I could do uh, to make use of all the privilege and this that I was blessed with. So so that was probably like a background story. So. Um, um, I mean, after all, it's a story. So the validity, I cannot know like if those were the actual reasons or if I'm if I made that up along the way, you know. But I don't know what comes first, the narrative about what we choose to do, or the choice comes first and then the narrative adds on. Like, I seriously have I'm not entirely sure which order things happen, but yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
Okay. So you had this um experience. I actually remember that email. We were discussing this in Switzerland, and like I said, that your emails, you were so all over the place, so enthusiastic, like a little puppy, that it felt irritating a bit because when somebody is so enthusiastic, they are not really listening, and you like, or maybe they are, but they are not like properly paying attention. And I remember sending you that email, just giving you the gist of everything. You know, practice Guru Yoga with Guru Rinpoche. Get to know him, because you know when you say get to know this person or that person, you can't misinterpret the meaning of that instruction. So you're not only just repeating some mantra more or less mechanically, you're not doing this or that. The instruction is for you to get to know this guru. And this kind of separates from real motivation from the bullshit, because you know that's the practice, it becomes your practice. And like you said, that you had all kinds of beliefs and how do you say attitudes perhaps
Mm.
that were then challenged. But please go on, how did it start developing from there?
Yeah, I remember it being very central to my path. I kind of laid out now a little bit of a sketch of how my mind works. how I'm a normal guy, I'm an IT guy that thinks of, I like rational thinking. I wasn't brought up religiously, so kind of scientifically minded. We had in Open Heart, there was offered the Bhumi model, the 13 Bhumi model. This to me was even, it was also very central and very important to my entire path, that I could see that there was uh, I knew what progress would look like, or not how it would feel, and not what the result would be, but I knew that it was kind of measurable. To There was a metric I could see,
Yeah.
that that things were happening, and we were speaking openly about the awakening experiences, and yeah, and mind purification process. Um,
It
yeah.
was a brilliant time in my work and in the Sangha, because we were testing. I had received the teaching of the 13 Bhumi model, the 13 stage model, maybe like 2013, something like that. And my first awakening happened in late 2011, so it was probably early 2013. And when you came into the Sangha was the stage when we were testing whether it's real or not, whether it really works for everybody the same way or not. And it was really inspiring in that way, because it turned out that it did. To really have a solid, real tool that works, that has absolutely nothing to do with wishful thinking or
Right.
theory, in a sense, that it's actually real, that you can verify the whole 13 point model through practices, and that it's so easy to do that. Yeah. So, yeah, please go on. How was the process of, we have in Open Heart, we have this, I was speaking about the three bodies, and we have kind of like three methods that make one method, but we have, they are very closely related. Some of the practices are exactly the same for each of the three bodies, but we speak, because there are differences also with the three bodies, we have the so-called three paths. And when we speak of turning self-based ignorance into wisdom, timeless wisdom, we are talking about the path of wisdom and clarity, which is the causal body / mind, which is the most subtle of the three. So when we are talking about 13 bhumis, bhumi openings, bhumi perfections, bhumi events, we are talking about the path of wisdom and clarity, where rainbow body yoga is the main practice. And the main gurus who we work with through that path, through that process, are Guru Rinpoche, who is seen here in rainbow body, and Guru Rinpoche's spouse, Yeshe Tsogyal. So just to let listeners know. But how was this? It took you, so 2016 you would have been on Bhumi 3, and then you finished in 2022. So how many years is that? 6 years.
Yeah, 6 years. It was September 22 that the 10th Bhumi perfected. Yeah.
Yeah,
Mm.
6 years. That's like we have people in our Sangha, we have 30 people who have mastered the path of wisdom and clarity, mastered wisdom meditation, emptiness meditation, vipassana, and some of them have been just crazy fast.
Mm.
I think that James Prevet and Kripa Sylvia are the fastest ones, and for them it took, I think it was year and 2 months for James, and then 2 years in Kripa's case.
Yeah.
But it's just crazy fast. And when I say crazy fast, it doesn't mean that there would have been something harmful or dangerous or suspicious. It's just that for them, the practice worked so fast. and but also like 6 years in your case, that's probably like if I had to, from the top of my head, give an estimate of the average, how long it has taken for these 30 people who've gone through that process, it's probably something like 5, 6 years on average.
Mm.
But yeah, can you say something about this?
Uh, yes, of course. In the beginning, it was pretty easy. I felt the boom is popping open, and I had these experiences of yeah, awakening consecutive, and it's a little bit hard to really capture what it feels like when these energy, let's call them fields, maybe open, and our view gets like a little bit more extended. It's like we see a little bit more of life, really, of our own life. We can just view a little bit more with each step. And I think it was around probably Bhumi, yeah, opening the Bodhisattva Bhumis, like outside. So you can, this information, of course, is readily available, but this is in Open Heart in the model. Uh, the uh, the first six bhumis stay within the body, and then the physical, inside the skin, you can say, and then going forward with the seventh and onward are outside. And I remember I was probably around at bhumi 7 or 8, perhaps even 9, something like this. I was opening these when I was at university at the time, and um, so plenty of time for meditation and also procrastination. And I was left alone with an assignment for 6 months, like one whole semester. I had the whole semester to myself. There was no follow up with teachers. There was no seminars or any structure from the university. I was on my own to do my own study. This was for my yeah, bachelor's degree kind of essay. And the stress that I felt in this was in the spring of must have been 2018. Um, I was progressing on the path really rapidly, and then I had this stress from the university, and I couldn't deal with it. I just couldn't deal with it. I had stress before, but every time I handed something in and things moved on, it kind of relieved, and I was kind of back to normal. And now I spent the whole semester kind of just building pressure. Um, and eventually I started going pretty crazy. So um, this it's like the cortisol level of the body. You can feel it's like constant little tension. So this cortisol level, I call it this because it's what it feels. It feels like an hormone all over the body. Um, was like pressuring me day and night, and yeah, I started going a little bit. I started believing. It felt like I was spinning out of control. It felt like I was losing my mind, really. Um, so I was doing calming practices and this, but it just didn't work. And I told myself that when I hand in the work and I'm done, then this is gonna relieve. It's just that it didn't. So it kept going. Over the summer, I handed everything in. I was done in school, and but it didn't go away this time, the stress. And this gave me some very strange experiences.
So
Uh,
was it like only like high levels of stress at that point? How did it? You said that you used the phrase "going crazy." Like what was the actual experience of that?
oh, yeah. The actual experience was that I started believing that like events around me were due to me. Like, for example, I would think something and then something would happen, or it would be the other way around, that something would happen and I would, my brain would make the conclusion that, oh, that's probably because I made a mistake over here before. So it was like my brain was constantly feeding itself different loops of negativity and kind of
Mhm.
negative feedback. It wasn't always really bad, but bad enough for me to kind of not want to have that. Um, the mind was telling, my head was telling myself that I'm making mistakes all the time. That like wherever I turn, I'm just making mistakes wherever I go. Um, so and the curious thing is because of the path and because of having the sense of me and all this stuff, I kind of knew I could always identify that this is not for real. Like this is just my mind telling me crap. But I was at the same time very hit by I mean the nervous system would fire, you know. I still feel this response. Um, and this spiraled out of control to the point that I really couldn't I needed help pretty badly. So I went and see the doctors and I was handed a medication against psychosis.
Mhm.
I wouldn't take them for a really long time because they had these terrible side effects. And there was this part of me that always believed that I would just fight through this, like power
Mhm.
through on my own. And by the way, I'm not really psychotic because I don't believe the stuff that I'm seeing, you know. So I had this
Mhm.
arrogance, you could say. Um, and then eventually it came to a point where I was so afraid. I was escaping. I was in the middle of the night. It was in May. Um, I was kind of walking around everywhere. I was thinking that all the cars were kind of chasing me.
Mhm.
Very paranoid thoughts, while also knowing that these are just paranoias. But still, I couldn't really shake it anyway. So at this time, it was in the middle of May. I jumped in the lake to swim away. I had a really I was kind of hiding out, and then there was a really loud splash actually in the water that I saw just in front of me um, as I was hiding, and um, I got that I was scared for real. So I just jumped in the water and started swimming in 4 a.m. in May in Sweden. Yeah, some guys pulled me up on the other end. I think maybe a kilometer of swim in freezing water. They pulled me up and called the ambulance, and yeah, I made it through with I think I had 32 degrees Celsius of body temperature, so pretty bad hypothermia, and yeah, it was a close one. Yeah, so um, the doctors obviously thought that I was suicidal, um, which I always, you know, said that I wasn't. I wasn't trying to kill myself. I was just really frightened. But I couldn't tell them everything that happened because I knew that they would think that I was schizophrenic. And once you get the stamp of schizophrenia, that's not something you rub off. I had enough experience of the to kind of know that, so I try to take it easy. And then there was this one really young doctor. When you stay in the hospital and by force and they think you're suicidal, you get to see the doctors every morning, um, and they have a meeting and they discuss your situation and everything. And there was this young doctor there who then gave me the antipsychotics of a different kind that I had been prescribed, but I had refused to take them, and but now I took them, and that was the next morning. I knew that this is what I need to do. I need to take my freaking meds. That's what I just got to do that. Um, so yeah, he that saved my life. I'd say really that I was handed these meds in this situation, and
So what year was this?
20 20 it must have been 2020. Yeah.
2020, 6 years ago.
Wow. Okay, that's incredible. 6 years. It feels like a half life ago. Yeah.
I'm sure it does.
Yeah. Ah.
So how did it you started taking those antipsychotic medication? How did that develop? And then my question is that do you know, or what do you think about what kind of impact harmful spirits, impure spirits, evil spirits, did they
Mm.
have a role in that psychosis of yours?
Yeah, 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 yeah. If we are to categorize, we everybody has Buddha nature, and I genuinely, I really genuinely feel this way that it's kind of sure they are in this class of being, yeah, but they are on the same boat as we are. They are ultimately our friends as well. They are. We cannot. I don't wish to demonize even them. Really, I see no like. It's a little bit tough for me to uh, kind of admit to say that yeah they are evil spirits and to use this, yeah, but yeah they were beings who were toying with me, sure, that it felt like that all the time, and even looking back now, sure, I still feels that way, yeah, yeah, even though I wish them the best, um,
Yes. How about like, can you share one or two specific events where you like what I would
mm,
like to hear is how what do you think caused the psychosis? Was it just stress? Was it something else together with stress combined with the effect of impure spirits? Like how do you think now in retrospect, how do you think why do you think people have these problems? And how did it kind of got created in your case, and how did you come out of it, and what were the experiences when you were having them?
yeah, so I for one, I think it's way more common than
Yeah.
I used to think, yeah, um, and if one does not have any experience of this, then it probably seems really unlikely uh, that it would be common. But I think that if you have that experience, you can relate a lot to and see it, yeah. So, like kind of everywhere. But I think that I opened myself up to this. Like I was really, like we were talking about before, I was quite naive. I was really naive. Uh, and I was very enthusiastic about the path. I thought that I was invincible. I thought that didn't I was very arrogant. Yeah. I had the progress and I thought I have the methods, I have the tools and all this you know, this is gonna be a cakewalk to complete the path um and yeah, I was as a university student, I was partying a lot. I was going to oh yeah, since I had this looking method, um I was seeking out the darkest of places as well. I mean, that's a big that's a big one, obviously. I was going to underground parties, really like drug environments to find people the people that were the most, as I saw it, the most in need of something, some relief. Yeah. So I went to these places. I was talking about the feeling of me with everybody basically. The um, and this was obviously causing a lot of motion. Yeah. So I kind of attracted this in that way. I was crazy. I really thought I was invincible, and yeah. Um, so and not enough, and really, yeah. I can say 100 things that I could have done better in retrospect. Um, I had empowerment a little bit earlier, which for wrathful deities, and this also throw that in the mix. That really pulled up stuff that I wasn't aware of perhaps from previous lives or stuff buried in my mind. Um, so lots of karma coming up at once. I had the stress, and no kind of routine in my life. No groundedness. Um, I was a young guy, high on life, really. Um, yeah, flying kind of high in my own, um, yeah, bubble. Mm. So this was definitely a very attractive to such for such energy to come my way as well. Yeah, it gotta balance out. Everything balances out. So yeah. So I was pushing. You could say I was pushing the social fabric of the world. Like I was really, yeah, probably quite annoying to some people and easy target as well. Really naive and kind of so.
Yeah.
Yeah, I couldn't mention like a specific thing that I did. It was this kind of life, this kind of attitude. I don't know. Maybe if I thought a lot about it, I could find some. Yeah, but yeah, hanging out with yeah, these connections, people with these connections all the time. So really unhelpful for us stable and safe Dharma environment. Yeah,
Mm.
yeah. Mm. I was
It is,
pushing the limits, consciously. I was testing. I was really testing. Where's the limit? Like what can I do here in this life? And never with bad intentions. Like always for the sake of all beings, I was, thinking. But um, yeah.
yeah.
Mm.
What your story reminded me, this was, I also had probably two occasions where I experienced psychosis briefly. They lasted maybe half an hour to an hour each time. And in my case, it had exactly the same element. I was, I had already been a practitioner for 5, 6 years, and I wasn't drinking. I never used drugs. I wasn't drinking. I was married. I was working, but at the same time, I was very young and very naive. And I was doing lots of breathing practices, pranayama practices. And yeah, I remember these couple of times when I somehow tricked myself, kind of sabotaged myself in a way that I thought that by doing certain practices and lots of practices, breathing practices, I would somehow get it. I would somehow grasp enlightenment, or and this was like a few years even before my first awakening experience. But what happened because of this ignorant or kind of subtly arrogant attitude, because I was also, I thought at least that I was doing it for the benefit of all beings, but what I missed was that I was in a completely self-absorbed state of mind. And from that completely self-absorbed state of mind, I was just doing more and more practices, and oh, now I will get it. When I just keep going, I will get it. I will grasp enlightenment. I will become enlightened. And boom, it just pulls the rug out of your feet. And then what happens is that the grounding gets cut. You're just completely separated from your physical body.
Mm.
And this, when that like embodied, natural, healthy, embodied presence is interrupted, cut like that, you find it hard to discern what is real and what is fantasy. And what you just said just reminded me of these couple of experiences. I was really lucky because back then I was married to my first wife, and we had a friend who, couple of friends who could help me. But I was like really inexperienced in life, a young man, super enthusiastic, very ignorant, and it just came back at me. But this is one of the reasons, just like a heads up for people who are listening to this. You really do need to pay attention to your attitude. You really do need to pay attention. There have been so many, especially young men. It's always young men, you know. Well, usually young men who have problems with attitude because they have this. I don't know if it's, well, probably it is. If it's like a natural feature of men that they have this conquering attitude that I will figure this out, I will make it work, I will somehow grasp this. But that's exactly the attitude that will get you into trouble, of whatever type of trouble. But it can be this, like in my case, briefly, in your case, madness.
Yeah, yeah. It hits hard, like you say this. I think I had a complexion like a heroic, like being a, you know, something like that, which, yeah. Yeah. Mm.
So tell me the rest of the story.
Okay, yeah. Yeah, this medication really helped me. It calmed down the nervous system enough so that I could eventually get back to practice. I asked for more and more medication until I was on the one of the, I don't know, a very high dose anyway. And that was me asking for it because I needed what it does, it slows down the entire nervous system so that, I mean, everything gets super boring and very awful in a way. But, if it can save me and my family and I can actually meditate, just give me more of this. So I did that for a few years and eventually I found back to the practice. And I could wane off also the medications eventually. So yeah, that way I came back. I remember a significant moment when my first Bhumi perfected. So I had the first Bhumi perfection. I had just received, I ordered a statue of Yeshit Tsogyal from from abroad, and it had taken time, but it eventually showed up, and I was probably, yeah, it helped me a little bit with the devotion part or something, and it was right about that time and when the first perfection happened, and I realized that, whoa, okay, I'm still on the, like, I'm still moving here, like, yeah, so that was really important. Um, and then, yeah, the perfections came one after the other, and I was not in the yourself, and a couple of other students were kind of ahead in this process, but I was a little bit catching up, and there was this little bit of a. It felt a little bit like a game, or like it helped me with to push through that other people were going ahead and having these experiences, these purification, these steps of the purification process, and eventually it was just done. Yeah, in September of 22. Um, a lot of stuff, of course, was still left, as we now know. I didn't know then. I knew something I mean, it was a very significant thing that had happened, and that it was a new ground to live my life from. This 10th Bhumi perfection, for sure. That's the complete purification of the most subtle body, of the causal body. Still way too subtle for anybody else to kind of, any ordinary person to kind of see that something had happened. But myself, I felt very stabilized and Yeah, but there was, of course, the confusion in the beginning why there still was this blowing winds of samsara. We were not, we were still, this was still developing, um, these methods and um, the theory about the three subtle bodies. Um, I'm happy for myself. It's kind of, it feels the right order of things to start with the causal body. I kind of usually go that way in any kind of task that I face. Like I start with the most fundamental, the things that nobody can see. Like uh, if I'm to clean the house, like I first prepare all the different things before I do the work that actually is seen. So I kind of always start at the bottom and work my way up, and this was the case with the purification process as well. That this is the like the foundation for um, if we want, yeah. It suited my path very well that to start out with the causal purification. It, yeah, it gives the insight into emptiness, and it kind of prepared me to face the more gross movements and winds and this stuff. Yeah, yeah. Mm.
Something that sometimes people ask me that whether they should start with the causal body, the wisdom side, or whether they should start from the astral body, healing their trauma, or addressing habits of selfishness. And then I tell them to consider what is most important for you at this point. But I remember when I was a young man, when I started practicing, and from the beginning, I wanted this awakening. You know, Buddhism discusses this so much about this self-delusion and sense of self that creates this separation between myself and the world and myself and other, kind of closes me into a box, and I wanted to break that box, definitely. So for me it was, and of course what is reflected in our method and in the different historical stages of our method and how it was developed, is because that's what I was first and foremost interested. This awakening, so-called awakening, non-dual awakening, emptiness awakening, wisdom side. And sometimes I have thought that because at the same time when I was doing that process, like doing my own emptiness wisdom practice, I was suffering of trauma all the time. So this is the reason why I tell people who ask me and tell my students that when you take up open heart practice, and even if you want to start focusing on the path of wisdom and clarity, go ahead, but do some astral body practice, some trauma healing practice on the side. Just do both, at least for some time. And if you then want to dive into, finish the path of wisdom and clarity, go ahead. But because of my experience, and especially, we have, it's like a rough estimate of mine, and I think that over half of people who do spiritual practices, perhaps over half of all Westerners or modern people, they have severe trauma, complex trauma, developmental trauma. So, if you have that, it is, and now we are talking in the context of open heart, and because we have trauma healing practices, I think it's good to address some of those as early as possible, because trauma has so much impact on people's lives. and I say this from my own experience. I've spoken about this extensively, so I won't go into this in detail, but this would be my advice. But
Yeah,
yeah,
right. I like that's 100%. I mean, I could. I'm only. I don't know why I'm happy that things turned out like they did. Really, I mean, if I would have had those practices, then it could have been a lot easier for me. Yeah, sure. Like,
mm,
why not? You know, why not make it easier? Yeah. Even though
yeah,
I think it's very important. The um, emptiness inside is a very important step, but you don't have to do it so painfully. Like you
yeah.
could help yourself a little bit along the way. Sure. Yeah, yeah.
And
That's why.
if we look at the path from this perspective, just like you mentioned at some point that, when you early on when you wanted to take a Buddhist meditation, you were just given shamatha instructions.
Hmm.
But that's exactly the same what happened to me in Zen Buddhism, which was the method that I started with. That for 4 years, almost the whole time, I was practicing shamatha. But that shamatha practice, that is, I suppose that most Buddhist methods, when you start working with a new teacher, you become a student, they tell you to do shamatha for however long that might be. But the way how shamatha was taught to me, presented to me, had absolutely nothing to do with healing. It was presented as concentration practice, which so you are practicing mindful concentration, right? Just mindful of one object, focusing on one thing, sitting there. And that is then supposed to take you into this unified state of body and mind called samadhi. And I would have these brief samadhis, but the instructions were so insufficient that, because it is very easy to teach healing meditation. So teach the shamatha practices, techniques that are practiced by millions of people around the world, those very same practices. But if you click a switch and teach those breath following, breath counting as a method of healing, that it heals you, that it brings you back to life, that it's like a healing balm spreading in your body with each breath, with each count. Just when you express it like that, it becomes a completely different practice because it ticks different boxes. But there are actually so many I've seen. Well, I have seen this with my own eyes in different meditation communities, and we can hear from people's reports from different traditions and methods and retreats that, well, people become disillusioned by these practices and traditional methods, and they also can have very deep anxiety or depression and even psychosis. Bouts of psychosis happen that then the teachers don't know what to do with them. And the only thing they say is just keep practicing, which is exactly a wrong way to address that problem. Anyway, it just reminded me of this, that like when we are talking about causal body, astral body, and how astral body or there's potential to do lots of psychological healing of trauma, while illuminating, putting light through habits of selfishness. So much can be done with basic
Right.
shamatha practices.
Mm.
But, I wish when I was practicing Zen Buddhism, I would have been taught shamatha as a healing method rather than as a concentration method. Because of that lack of instruction, I say 98, 99% of the time, of thousands of hours that I was doing it, was utter waste of time. So my point is that had I been taught shamatha as a healing practice, it would have had so much more impact and beneficial effect on me and my life very early on, because I was a very young man over 20 years ago when I was doing these practices in Zen Buddhism. But instead, because it was taught as a concentration practice, it didn't have that effect. And because of that, for many years, I was suffering of lots of panic attacks, anxiety, rage, all that, because the practice just didn't address that. And I actually have stories from my Zen days of people who I practiced with, similar stories, like they were living in monasteries and were monastics, ordained monastics, and spending years and years doing this stuff, but yeah, they just wasn't, well, they were tools, but the instructions were completely insufficient. And that really ruined people's practices and their lives in Dharma. I've seen so many people leave Dharma because of these issues, these problems. So my bigger point is that when we speak of Dharma practice, meditation practices, yogic practices that are, we are told that they are aimed for enlightenment. But really, teachers of different traditions don't even know the basic purposes of different practices. They might not even know that there are two different subtle bodies that you're working with, mind and subtle body, causal body, astral body, that they don't even know that there's two of them, and that you cannot do shamatha practice that is intended, that automatically works with the astral body, the subtle body. So some people teach shamatha practices and think that that will generate awakening, which might happen strangely, like in 1 out of a million cases.
Yeah, yeah,
As a rule, it just won't happen, and vice versa. So people, it is, I often say this phrase that people, the spiritual teachings, Dharma teachings in our time have become so diluted and so distorted that people don't even have the most basic understanding. So there is the aim, the goal of enlightenment, but then the practices, the methods, the instructions are a total mess that nobody can make sense of. And when you can't make a sense of it, nobody's getting to that final
yeah,
bus stop.
yeah. Maybe if you're in a lineage and you have the entire cultural context, it's different. But for us, I no, that doesn't. I know, like from my path and the healing of the astral body. It was when the information came about the astral body, its shape, its kind of constituents, like what's it made of with the meridians, and it's this just this knowledge, just knowing this, that for me made all the difference. The uh, we have to know this stuff. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
But
I
just,
think.
sorry, just to
Yeah.
interrupt you a little bit, what you said about that maybe it's different if you're in a lineage or in a community. You said something like this just a moment ago.
Mm,
No, it is not. It isn't. This is something that I have, now we're getting a bit off topic, but a good tip, a podcast to listen to. If you haven't listened to it, Bodhi, highly recommend it, or listeners. There is an episode with Lama Asa Hershoff on Damo Mitchell podcast, where it's called Inside Vajrayana Scoop, that episode, where Lama Asa, who's been a Tibetan Buddhist practitioner and a Lama for 40 years, talks about what goes on in the retreat huts and how they are instructed and actually how poor the instructions are. So no, it's not any different.
I have a suspicion, and this is entirely from my own empiricism. Like anytime that we spread dharma that is like true, that it really makes a difference, most people shy away from it. Most
Yeah,
people they
definitely.
get like defensive, like "Shoop," like no, this I cannot really. They prefer to stay ignorant
Yeah.
without knowing it. Also, it's not no blame on their part, but that's how like the mind reacts with like kind of fearful reaction. If it's true actual dharma that really is transformative, that's like the last thing your mind wants. So to yeah, so I was just thinking when you were speaking of this, I was thinking how did these ineffective methods end up and this wrongful information end up in the like old lineages and this, and probably over time just a preference for stuff that doesn't work, rather than stuff that actually work, just slowly,
Mm.
yeah, makes it to finally more or less useless, at least for the purpose that we have in mind. Yeah.
Yeah, but it is perfectly. I can definitely agree with what you said that most people don't wanna. They kind of want to flirt with enlightenment, awakening, dharma, empowerment teachings, but then for one reason or the other, it just doesn't really cut through, hit through. Um, and it's not a problem for me, obviously, when people do that. It's just that lots of people do that. But, this has been said in a way by countless masters since ancient times when they have said that it's difficult to find a good student. And it really boils down to just like it's as difficult to find really good teachers. But it really boils down to the so called merit. Like having merit means that you are ready and willing to look at yourself. But looking oneself, looking at, opening the Pandora's box and looking at all the suppressed fears and rage and trauma, painful memories, you really need to want it and need it to do it. Yeah. So it's not for everybody.
Yeah. This something I got an email actually from Nataraj from asking question. I just read it today. I didn't have time to reply to it, but I was thinking about some things there, some questions about how it is now for me, and this about looking at one's own um old stuff, stored stuff that we kind of feel dis-ease about. Um, there's one thing that is not often talked about in relation to enlightenment and bodhicitta, is that as we expand, as we open the bhumis, not only our insight grows, but also our responsibility grows.
Yes.
And this is also not easy to carry always. This is like, you know, um, it's wonderful. No, you wouldn't want it any other way. Like honestly, you wouldn't want to not have it, but it seems kind of like a burden. When in fact, it's already a burden. It's just that we don't know about it. But
Yeah.
knowing about getting to know this, uh, our place as beings, um, that our nature is bodhicitta, our nature is compassion, our nature is to um, be helpful for anybody, everybody, all the time. Our nature is good. So this is also something that may cause one to kind of look away, shy away from reality. Yeah.
But it's also that not only our nature is like that, but the farther we go in our purification process, our awakening process, the more our conduct needs to be according with our nature. That's what that responsibility means. That it's not some abstract responsibility that I will pray for others, but you actually need to, how do you say in English, like you actually need to do the footwork. You actually have to act, have conduct according to this nature. And this is, now that this became mentioned, this is something that I wasn't expecting that it would be so difficult for Western students to realize that. Even like up to very advanced stages, like post-emptiness practice, I've had so many students who just don't get it, that they don't get it, that they have, because they have had the fortune to learn the Dharma and practice and get the fruits, has been very difficult for me to understand why it doesn't click, why it doesn't connect, that they already have this immense responsibility to pass, to help others. And, as I've been very open about this problem that I've had as a teacher with a number of students. But yeah, I wasn't expecting it, because in my case, I remember when I started practicing and when I started my retreat over 20 years ago, like I started doing retreat practice from the very day when I learned my first meditation practice, Zen meditation, in January of 2003. From that very day, I started sitting 8 hours or more every day. But it didn't take me but maybe a month, something like that, when it clicked in my mind that, okay, this body, chitta and bodhisattva vows are of utmost importance. But as important is the fact that, like at the time, I didn't know but a thing or two about the wide world of Dharma and different traditions, practices, and so on. I knew only a small fraction what I know today, but still I understood that to be sitting in that small meditation hall of a local Finnish Zen group, having learned to do this simple concentration practice, doing these simple or Mahayana Buddhist recitations with the Sangha, I could perceive that there was immense responsibility that was coming with it. It just clicked. So for me, it clicked like right away from the start. I had been contemplating death and having a very challenging, difficult life since I was a small kid. So it didn't actually, there was a very long preparation for karmic conditions to be ready for me to take up formal practice. But having said that, it still has been, myself teaching Westerners who many don't have any familiarity and not having been exposed to, let's say, Asian arts and the culture of enlightenment. I'm not talking about Japanese culture or Tibetan culture. I'm talking about the culture or the atmosphere that comes with Dharma practice. And what it literally is, we are talking about paramitas. The paramitas come, in Mahayana we speak of 6 paramitas or 10 paramitas. So it's not only the paramitas of spiritual practice or meditation and awakening, but there are all the other paramitas. And it's those paramitas that, the responsibility comes in that mix. And that Westerners don't get it. It takes, and, I've accepted it now. And, this has kind of changed my these challenges have in some way changed the way how I teach, but giving more emphasis on different things, mentioning, talking about, teaching in different way than I did before. But yeah, that responsibility thing, I wish people are listening listening to
Yeah,
this
yeah.
because it is there.
And it's obvious from the practice point of view, or from meditation, it's obvious. If you do the proper meditation, this is abundantly clear. Like it's a, yeah, yeah,
In your case, in your case, just the problem that I was describing that I've had with some students, in your case, it was never there. Like you have been one of very few of my students who have had just outstanding ability to listen and not pick and choose.
mm,
That's the thing, because all students listen, but they do it to some degree. And the thing with Dharma, teaching the Dharma is that you cannot always explain everything. That you can only explain some things, but then you gotta leave stuff for students to figure out. And this goes without saying, like when you, if one has any familiarity with like Asian arts or Asian culture, martial arts, fine arts, spiritual arts, it goes without saying that the teacher only tells you part of the stuff and you have to figure out the rest. But Westerners are absolutely awful in this regard. That they just, at least my experience so far, that they just don't contemplate stuff, and they just don't contemplate stuff that they expect that they are given the information, and now I have the information and I just apply that information, but they never like start like contemplative process about that
yeah. It's
actually,
funny.
and they don't realize that they are these blanks that they're supposed to fill.
It's funny because I was going to say, so thank you. I take that as a huge compliment. Thank you so much. I
Yeah.
always try to pay close attention, but it's what I was thinking before you said that is that, well, Baba, you taught me this. That's how I feel about it, that you taught me this way of,
Yeah, I
yeah.
probably did because
Yeah, yeah.
I,
I don't know how, but I'm sure that was what came to me. That obviously I didn't know this when I was looking into physics to understand reality. This is, uh, you know, you
yeah.
taught me this. I was never in some other lineage or um, right. So it comes from you, Baba. So yeah,
I'm glad
uh,
you got it. Hey, let's go back to your personal story. So now you have finished the path of wisdom and clarity and the path of healing and light. That relating to astral body is next. How was that process? So it took you about 4 years.
uh, or about right, right. Yes, yes. Yeah, sounds right. 4 years. Okay. Yeah, I think that the overwhelming part of it was to learn about the actual shape and about the astral body. Learn what it is, how it looks, how to interact with it. This was the most significant step for me to be able to work in the purification process.
So
Of
what
course,
you're,
I took,
sorry, just to interrupt you there,
yes.
what you're saying is that you had been working with a different non-physical energetic
Mm,
body of yours, and now when you started working with the astral body, you kind of had to recalibrate your
yeah.
perception. You kind of had to learn how this astral body feels because it feels different than the causal body. That's what you just said.
Exactly. Yes. Yeah, yeah. And the key to it was to know about it, and that way I could maneuver my own kind of attention to, find out what it is in my own experience. How do I experience the astral body? What is its shape and boundaries, and this, and what kind of material is there? What happens when I address it?
Yeah.
And yeah, yeah, sure. So. And this was, yeah, like many will attest, that's a rock, that's a bumpy road. That's I don't really remember it as that, but I know that it was. Sometimes it's you can just can't get out of bed. It's that bad. Like it can be really really terrible these dark nights. It's yeah, yeah. Like the whole dharmic path, it's very cyclical. It comes in
Yeah.
cycles of opening up, and everything feels great, and you have a new perspective, and then boom, a lot of stuff comes up, and you're just heavy, and you can't focus on the daily mundane stuff as well. You get distracted from, yeah, you have difficulties, and then pop all of a sudden, and then you're back and it feels good again, and you have some new encouragement to keep going. And yeah,
So why, when you said that it's sometimes it's difficult to get up from the bed, why? What is the struggle? What makes it feel that this is difficult? Or you have, like you just said, that you have difficulty in concentrating on mundane things.
yeah,
Why? What are you
like
working with?
also for me it's like a very visceral feeling, like the body is under not attack, but it's like under pressure. It's like
Yeah.
a yeah, yeah. So kind of like related to depression, how it feels to be depressed, related to this, but at the same time more physical and more tough, but also not as I mean, I through the entire purification of astral body, I already had the causal purified, so this kept me kind of clear at the most fundamental level. So I had a, a good point of view, kind of, um, which when it was as it worst, at its worst, kind of a blessing to have that kind of ground stability of. But yeah, like that, like a pressure, tiredness, lots of tiredness. Oh, I had, yeah, very tired. Even though good sleep, good food, move around. Well, I have of course, people would say it's natural that I'm tired having three little kids and this family. I mean, that's a natural part of it, but sometimes it was not regular tiredness. Yeah. And like carrying around sometimes very heavy body, like carrying around weights, even weights on my attention, like trying to focus on something. It's like it's heavy to move it to cooking or whatever. It can be like almost impossible to make myself to do these tasks that are quite basic. Yeah.
How about in your case? Like, did you have, like in my case, the whole astral body purification was largely healing of trauma, which means that there was lots of painful memories from very early on in my life. There was lots of suppressed rage, tons of anxiety and fear. So for me, most of it was about that. But would you say that you had like some uh, emotions, like, or was it just that tiredness and heaviness? But did it have those emotions with it?
Yes, sometimes, but not. I think that generally I've had a not so tangible sense of emotion, saying, "Oh, this is anger, this is rage, or this is related to that event," and this is not so. For me, mostly it's been like porridge, like. But
Yeah.
sometimes something there comes lumps and chunks that I can tell that that this was this thing. Um, And for astral, it's a heavy porridge. And for me, the big thing I think is lethargy and suppressed anger. Lots of that. And I think a lot of it was actually learning to um, that anger is okay, like to
Yeah.
that that mm, um, lethargy, most of that I think just in um, not wanting to actually be in life, like really not wanting to wake up, not wanting to engage and be present. Rather, I just, I don't know what, get out of this.
Aversion. Aversion.
Aversion. Yeah, right. Yeah.
Did you have like a laziness or
Oh,
pride?
yes. Yes, both, but more laziness.
Yeah.
Laziness and it's more sloth, really. Like
Yeah.
it's a deeper, it's a laziness to um, want to take this responsibility about myself. Yeah.
Mm. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. Not wanting to be in my own shoes, really. Like actually, I'd rather fly off into space.
Mm.
Yeah. Even the
Yeah.
search for enlightenment can be seen uh, as that.
Sure.
Uh, yeah, as an
Yeah.
escape from life being, in fact, like quite a ride. Like it's,
Mm.
I mean, compare the life of a human to any mammal. Like mammals are, or even more basic, like I don't know, fish or sharks, or mammals are. Um, Generally, a squirrel generally has a pretty easy life if you compare it to the life of a human. Like we
Mm.
have we have a um, all the time decisions and all the time events that are um, it's a big thing. Being a human is a big thing. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
So this yeah, and almost hateful. I had almost hate to it. I'd say hateful,
Yeah.
like rage, anger, and hate.
Yeah.
Why was I put here in this world?
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. So
Right.
how did it turn out? How did the purification come to become finalized?
Mm.
How did that happen, and how did it feel afterwards? It hasn't been even a year since
No.
your
Yeah.
Astral-body scenes. So,
Yeah. Yeah. No, it happened in I think early February of this year.
all right.
Um, yeah. So there were a few Sangha members who had gotten to that stage. I did not at all expect that I was coming up so close on it because yeah, I have the family life and the job and stuff like that, and um, but since it was happening for people, I guess that really drove me to become even more motivated towards the end. And it popped like I didn't even know it at first. Yeah, it was in the middle of the day. I told this story before, but I think maybe in the other video. But I was on the metro and I was doing silent pet shouts, like Zemzin shouts to cut through um, the turbulence. Um, and and I was doing it more intensely than I'd ever done, and I did it really with my whole body, without moving muscles. Yeah, like with what's the I forget the name of this energy when we if we sit in the chair and we just about to get up, but we don't actually get up. Just the activation. E. E.
E, physicalized
So
concentration. E is a
yeah,
Chinese word that means intent, and I render it as physicalized concentration. Yeah.
yes, yes. So I was really pushing that to the as much as I could, and all of a sudden, as I arrived at the final stop, that was my stop. Um, Something just snapped. Something happened, and I got off. I didn't think much about it, and after some maybe 15-20 minutes, I started getting these floods of emotions. Like I just started crying, and
Hmm.
um, it was good cry, like a good cry. And
Yeah.
I couldn't really trace it to anything that was going on, so it's a little bit out of place. And then later in the evening, that's when I thought that, hey, wait a minute, this is okay. I got it. That okay, this happened. I'd had a few cessations that lasted for up to a few days in the months prior. So
Yeah.
yeah, but this one was of course different. Like there's no trace anymore. It's in the other cessations leading up to it, there's always been like a hint or like a feeling that it might turn on or come back. So in the temporary cessation, but this one didn't have that.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Great, great stuff. So that was February this year, which is exactly half a year ago. And then less than 2 months, wait a second, February, was it early February or?
yeah.
Yeah. So early February, so 2.5 months from that, we are, you actually visited us like a month after your astral body ceased. You came to visit us here in Slovenia for like a long weekend, and I think there was a weekend retreat then here, and then we saw again a month later, so 2.5 months after your astral body went into cessation on that spring retreat in Switzerland. And what happened there?
We were doing I remember the moment that it happened. Also unexpected, really. But we were doing the hammering practice. We were all softly hitting our bodies with hammers like this. Um,
With actual
I don't know
hammers.
like actual hammers. Yeah, yeah, yeah,
So it's an ancient healing practice that I learned in my martial arts days. That you use an actual hammer, you tap with it through the body,
yeah.
and the way how we do it in Open Heart as a healing practice is that we tap it with mantras.
Yes, yeah, exactly.
Practice.
So tantric style. Yeah, tantric style. Tapping. And oh yeah, it might be worth mentioning that before coming to Slovenia, then in March, right after, I did have the like so let's say an event in the physical body. It kind of like it felt like a Bhumi opening. It felt like back in the causal mind. It was similar to one of these awakening events, but it was felt in the body. I didn't know exactly what it was, but it did bring myself a little bit closer to not falling asleep anymore. Yeah, yeah. And that was current when on that weekend retreat, and as well in Switzerland. But then in Switzerland, as we were doing this, I remember hitting, I think the ankle or someplace. It it was like the cells or the inside of my body um, went from being this closed thing to kind of yeah, just naturally opening up, like a kind of a unfurling, like almost like an unfurling. And it started there, and then it spread out up toward the leg, and yeah, and it eventually the body had unfurled all over within a few minutes or something like that. Yeah, and it stayed like that.
Since it has stayed like that
Since, yes,
since.
it has, yeah, since, but during the retreat and uh, and since I got back and so on. Yeah, yeah.
Great. So let's talk about that. Um, so it's been about 4 months since then, 3, 4 months.
Mm.
And if we think about it like this, think of your life, your experience, your perception of yourself and everything before and after that opening of the physical body. What is the difference there?
The I'd say the most thing I had vacation now. I was with the family, moving to this house, doing different chores. There's just so little um, going on. Like so little that's not actually in front of me. It's
Mm.
just not appearing to me. There's no narration. There's no like well, I mean, that sounds again like something like a special state. And it's really the opposite. I feel more, oh yes, we were having conversation with Sangita on WhatsApp for a few days ago or like a week ago, and we spoke about this, and I had to face these questions because I didn't really talk about this much, so I didn't reflect a whole lot, but somewhat I've been thinking and kind of putting words on what's going on, and um, I'd say that it's like being just normal all the time. It's just that. It's just being without being pulled into my um, idea. Not pulled into any ideas really. Yeah. Is it? Does it? Is it relatable or I don't know
Well,
how to.
being normal, well, all the time. What do you mean all the time? 24/7 during
Yeah.
sleep?
Sleep is sleep, I guess. Yeah. I mean, I dream, but and that's the same normalness is in the sleep too. Like it's in the dream. It's yeah, I don't okay, maybe this. Like emotionally or intellectually, I don't deviate from the center point uh much at all. Like it almost collapses back within seconds. Like I start thinking, I start feeling towards it just goes back into its zero place. Zenith, or what's it called? Origo in mathematics, the center of the graph, like the origo point. All experience kind of comes. If I go outside of origo at some point, it takes yeah no time at all, and I'm in origo again without really yeah asking for it. I'm not.
So, what about when you say living at a 0 point or origo and the normalcy? So, try to explain what is that 0 point? Is it, are there some characteristics to it? And again, like, how was it before and how it is now after? Like, do some little comparison so that I can understand what you're talking
Yeah.
about.
I mean, I do feel more like dumb, like like a little bit like a dog or something. Like just um, there's not much before. I would be reflecting all the time. I would be reflecting on, oh, now I'm doing this practice, and I wonder if this is causing this and that, and I wonder how good that is for that. Or oh, someone over there is in that kind of state. I wonder how I should relate to that. This that's how I remember it. And now there's just not that. I wouldn't say that is there anymore. I mean, there might be some ignition of that, but it just doesn't go anywhere. It has no fuel at all to yeah. So there yeah, I do have like reflexes in my that are um, let's say involuntary or automatic or from previously. Um, so there are little twitches still, Um, but they seem to be all over this summer. Yeah, they're just, yeah, they are kind of um, just not. They're showing up less. Yeah, less and less.
So be more specific about
Mhm.
that. So twitches and that they're becoming less. Are you talking about like habits of reaction? What are you talking?
Yeah. Yes,
Yeah.
yes, these habits, yeah. Like, oh, some event occurs, whatever it might be, and my body, mind, intellect, attention, whatever, reacts in some kind of way. That's how I remember all the time it before being. That and there's this little story along with it, like this little tale of why that happened, like this explanation. Um, where now, yeah. Yeah, I feel more like I have a sometimes more difficult time to keep on a thread. Like a train of thought, I can't keep on a train of thought as much as I kind of lose context. So that way I feel a little bit like uh, yeah, sorry to say stupid, but yeah, like yeah. Oh, what? Mm.
What about when you still have these twitches and they are becoming less? What does it mean when they are becoming less? Is it just because you have been on a vacation? You work at a school, so you have a long vacations. But is it because you've been on a vacation, or what does it mean when those twitches become less?
Yeah, it's
Is
the
there
it's
still
the
some is there still some integration process happening in the body in terms of these reactive habits? Is there an integration and those former habit patterns are like there is like a shell of them, there is no reaction, but they can be like a shell of the reaction and those shells are dissolving. Is that what you're talking about or something else?
Right, right. So if something involuntary happens, some of this habitual reaction would happen. Uh, it's like they are playing themselves out. It's like they happen once, but every time one of those happens, it's like the last time they happen. So yeah, kind of integration. Sure. Yeah, that's what it feels like. Yeah, time. Yeah.
And when those reactions still happen, is there some emotional content in those reactions?
No, there's the. Let's see. No, no. The emotions are my naturally occurring emotions. They are the emotions that are appropriate at that time, I would say. I mean,
Yeah,
that's me calling them appropriate, but who's to say? But it seems like that, right?
yeah.
Um, so no emotional content. There is a side kind of satisfaction to it when it happens. Like I kind of feel that, oh great, now that's out of the way, maybe. I didn't that thought occurred now. I never thought about it like that before, but I wasn't pushed on this either, so yeah. Mm.
Okay, great. So you already mentioned a little bit about sleeping and dreaming. Can you talk a bit about that more and tiredness? You mentioned tiredness before, and I have also had lots of tiredness during my astral body purification and physical body purification that is still going. But how is it for you at this point? Tiredness, dreams, sleep. Amount of sleep, like do you get tired? How do you get tired? Is the tiredness now different than what it was before 4 months ago?
there is a there is something that is new in relation to that, which is I have at any time I can kind of touch let's say a constant power. Like I can always go there. Like if I feel tired and I kind of need and it's in the way for some reason, I can use an extra power that I didn't have before.
Where does that come from? What is that?
Everywhere. It's just a matter of, yeah, from myself, just a matter of noticing that. Yeah. So that the power is there always. Yeah.
Does it need to be noticed, or
No, no, it
like
doesn't need it.
do you need like a do you need to take a moment to recharge?
Yeah, I think I do, but I don't. Yeah. Like
Ah,
yeah, it might be that, yeah, yeah. Um, um, just a habit of thought, just the thinking that, oh, because of that, this is, I need that, but not really. That's, yeah, yeah. I, it, yeah, but I do, but I, of course, yeah, I need to sleep. Yeah, I think, but yeah, I, I sleep kind of poorly. I always sleep with the kids, with the big kids, one 5-year-old and one 7-year-old. So I always sleep in between them. And I'm a kind of late person. I always go to bed late, so I get pretty little sleep actually. And um, still like to sleep in. Like I'm the same. I'm the same. I'm the same person. Yeah, I just don't. It's almost like it's the relationship that has changed to it more than anything. It's my relationship to sleep that is kind of new.
mhm.
There's no um, meta like metacognition about it.
What does that mean?
Met,
Metacognition about sleep.
it's like thoughts about thoughts, or like thoughts about what's going on. It's like
Oh,
there's no so one really like clumsy way to say it is I just don't care. Like yeah, there's no point in kind of analyzing.
yeah.
Yeah,
When let's talk about this purely from physical perspective.
yeah,
So when an, any person, when ordinary man wakes up in the morning after night's rest, works through the day, and then starts feeling tired after long day's work and activities in the evening, starts to feel tired, sleepiness starts coming, and then that tells the fellow to go to bed to sleep. How is that for you now? That tiredness, that wearing, how to say, wearing after a day
yeah.
of activities.
It's natural. That's like the only way I can describe it to be completely true to what I'm saying, but also accurate. Like it feels just like it's supposed to be. That's what it feels like. It feels correct. It feels like, yeah, I get tired if I work hard, the body gets tired. If I stay up late, I get sleepy. Right, but it feels absolutely correct that it's that way.
Of course.
Yeah,
Um, so
there's no,
haven't had so you still sleep like the same amount as you used to before.
yeah, yeah, yeah,
And do you feel like you need that amount of sleep? Because sleep is
yeah,
well, it's a different question. You know, there is this whole sport in yoga of lucid dreaming and being lucid of deep sleep, being aware of deep sleep. This is not something that I emphasize in my teaching, and the reason for that is because I would say majority of people, Westerners, they have sleeping problems. So my instruction about this instead is to just sleep, just rest as much as you can, and you can perfect your subtle bodies and your physical body with the yogas that you do in waking state. This is the reason why I don't really teach or emphasize yogas of dream and sleep. But when it comes to the physical body, the reason why I'm asking these questions is that when we have three bodies resting in the natural state, this should affect tiredness and the way how we get tired differently after the three bodies are open and resting in the natural state. So it should automatically have an impact on that. And I'm kind of just trying to pull it out from you, Bodhi, how it is for you at this point, few months after your body opened. And if you feel like there is some process still going through, after all, we have to remember that physical body is an organic structure. So even when the body, even when the former psychological or selfish habits have been released from the body, it might take some time for the body to actually catch up with the basic state, with the true self that doesn't run out of energy. So you use the term constant power, and therefore also the need to sleep and rest changes. So this is something that I have spoken about regularly over many years. About Buddha Shakyamuni, there are records that, he woke up early in the morning, was teaching all day, hanging with his students late into the evening, and then the students went to bed. But the students went to bed because they couldn't keep up with Buddha Shakyamuni. But Buddha Shakyamuni still kept teaching non-physical beings for another few hours before he lied down. So this story suggests that Buddha Shakyamuni only lied down for a couple of hours. And I don't know, this is what we are figuring out at the moment. When you have opened your body and when others will follow, hopefully myself included, that we are trying to figure out how it actually happens, because there is so little information about this and how it actually happens. But another brilliant example of this is the hugging Saint Amma, who I have full respect towards, and she demonstrates this every day of her life by not needing to take breaks when she is giving darshan, when she is hugging people, giving these immense spiritual blessings and charge one person after the other, up to thousands every day. And there have been instances where, well, obviously, I don't know if it's possible. I don't know if it's even. I don't know. Let's just say that I don't know if it's possible for even fully enlightened being in human body to get transformed so much that one wouldn't need sleeping or resting at all. I think this is possible. Whether one wants to go that way, it's a different question. But like in Amma's case, I know that she has a private room in her ashram in India, and I know that there is a bed there. But I don't know if she takes naps, if she sleeps, but I know that she's able to push her physical performance with the help of that constant power, that she can literally sit for 22, 23, 24 hours without breaks, without having to go to toilet, eating, drinking, just hugging one person after the other, many thousands during that time. So what I'm interested about is where you are on that, in this theory, and whether you would be capable of doing something similar. I mean, it's not obviously just to stay up is not, it's pointless in a sense.
Yeah.
But if you had some task that, like, could you do more than regular mortals are capable of? That's my question.
Yes, if I compare the capacity I have now, let's call it this,
Yeah.
so how I see it. Yeah, this is this is different from before, and probably because I wouldn't have to push now. Like
Yeah.
before, I could probably do it, but I wouldn't have to do that. Yeah, I wouldn't have to force uh, in the same way as before. Yeah, capacity has definitely increased. I could and a lot of that is also just mental, just blah 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 blah, not really take sucking up so much energy. So there's just more over. Yeah, yeah, and sleep. Yeah, I kind of suspect that I wouldn't need as much sleep now as before. I didn't really try it out, but yeah. No, yeah, and there is a progression too, sure. So there will be it it does change. Yeah, I just don't think about it so much. Before, I used to think about my practice every day. Even if I didn't practice, I would be thinking about practice, and I would be kind of,
Yeah.
which now I don't really. So I don't really track but I can definitely see that there's from day to day, week to week, it's changing. Yeah, sure. Yeah, yeah, it's being towards more good. That's um, more um, well, less unnatural moments, less unnatural movements, less unnatural, yeah, less time with unnaturalness. Yeah, and naturally, yeah, this about. I also had this thought that this is something that I did reflect, that the light body, or the like you have on the tanka of Padmasambhava, this kind of rainbow body, this is kind of this first time in my whole path that I see it, that I feel that it's kind of optional. Like to go and do the rainbow body, to complete, to go all the way, it's kind of optional. Like you don't, you can do all your dharma work from this as well. I mean, it'd be really awesome and really cool with rainbow body. I mean, what could ever beat that? But there is no strict necessity in dharma to do that extra leap. I mean, that would, if I want to do that, I'm gonna have to sit down on the cushion and work on it. Maybe not, but I think I would have to like consciously go for rainbow body. Yeah, from this on, I would have to consciously choose to do that, and I can sympathize if people have come to this um, stage and they choose just not to do that. They choose other activities. I can completely sympathize with that. So that is a major difference from before. Yeah.
So explain to me, what is the rainbow body?
I would say that it is knowledge. That's what it is. It's the experience of knowing everything about that there is to know. It's the full, down to the very last atom, or I don't think the Tibetans think in terms of atoms, but down to the 5 elements, knowing everything as the 5 elements. That's what it is. To know that every little, every square millimeter, nanometer of one's experiential field, known as the 5 elements. That, yeah, I never did this kind of formulation before, so bigger pardon if this is incorrect somehow, but that's my intuitively think that it is. Yeah.
My take on that, based on what I have observed of you, what I'm observing of you, what I have observed of Amma for over 20 years in person, like spending hundreds and hundreds of hours in her physical company, looking at her from near or far. Plus, of course, based on my experience of tantric guru yoga practice with many masters who have had attained rainbow body, my take on this is that, like, there is so little solid information about this. This is discussed briefly in many books, but it's not really solid information. Like, for one reason or the other, this is not spoken of very clearly, and I think that the main reason why it's not spoken clearly is because the authors are speaking of somebody else. They are not speaking of their own experience. And if they are speaking of, let's say, a Tibetan Buddhist author is speaking of somebody who they met briefly, or somebody who, it's not their first-hand account. I think this is the reason why they are so, let's say, vague, these accounts. Having said that, there are masters who have demonstrated a rainbow body very recently. So it is a real phenomenon. And not only in Buddhism but in other traditions as well, including Taoism and Christianity and Hinduism. But somebody who has inspired me for a couple of decades regarding this is a South Indian Siddha master called Ramalinga. And I think Ramalinga was Jesus's reincarnation, like his direct reincarnation. Ramalinga passed away, might get this wrong, but mid-1870s maybe 1874, 1880, something like that. So quite recent. But what he wrote in his personal writings was that he was speaking about this, he was saying a bit more than the Tibetan Buddhist sources say about that integration process that comes after you have causal, astral and physical, and what happens, the integration process that happens in the physical, and how that timeless awareness, timeless nature of ours, wakeful nature of ours, how it transforms the physical body. And when you said that, so he speaks about this a bit more, but still leaves lots of blanks to fill. But I think what you're talking about when you say that if you wanted to pursue the body of light, rainbow body, you would have to practice. I don't think you have to practice. So, but this is again something that this integration process, because your 3 bodies are already open. So one option is just to wait, and it will, the cells of your physical body will automatically align with what has already been established, but it will just take a bit more time for the physical tissues to catch up. How do you say? Catch up. So I think you are heading for exactly that. Amma has a body of light, and she's amazing. Like anybody who's met her, and if one has any real experience of meditation practice and has met different kinds of teachers and people who are regarded as masters, and when you go see Amma, you can see that it's a completely different kind of animal. It's like when you bring a wolf into a like a dog playing ground. You bring a wolf, all the dogs know that, oh, that's not a dog, that's a wolf. It's not the best analogy, but it is like that. Like it's just a completely different kind of being. And the way how when I look at you, it's like you are on your way to that. But but you don't necessarily need to do any practice for that process to finish itself. So my theory, as we are doing this, as I'm putting these pieces together, is that when we speak of sleep and tiredness and constant power and all this eating, drinking, needing to take rest, that in your case, it's just automatically coming together. But how long does it take? I don't know, months, year or two, I have no idea. But it is completely obvious from your presence that it is coming together.
Hmm. Well, that's very encouraging. Thank you. Thank you for it. Gives me a jolt of devotion, even more so. Thank you for saying that. Yeah, you was it something I wanted to say something, but
Yeah, I was just thinking about those practices that, we have practices of the
mm,
third path, the physical path, the path of health and great bliss. The term great bliss is a translation of Maha Sukha, a great pleasure, a great bliss, which suggests that a body of light, rainbow body, a physical body that is fully transformed or aligned with our basic nature. So we have practices for this. We have deities. You have received these mantras. You have received these deities, and there are a bunch of gurus who we practice guru yoga with. So if you wanted to, you could do those practice. But having said that, I don't think it's necessary. That it will just take care of itself, and it's up to you if you want to, like you said, if you want to pursue that or not.
yeah, wonderful. Yeah, it feels right. Like things are moving in that direction. Um, there is it's too vague, but like yeah, there's a sense of transparency to the experience of having a body that wasn't there before, which is wonderful. And I think it will probably increase. But you saying that is a way different thing than my head making these things up and kind of making sense of the experience. What I did want to reflect into it was that I think ultimately speaking, the body is all it is a it's a sensory it's our sensory organ. Like it's an organ. It's a thing we have to interact with the physical reality. It's basically it's made from experience as well. Like it's it's very it constructs reality for us while it's also made of reality. Like it or it may sorry made of experience. It constructs our experience and it's at the same time made of it. So this is that's the transformation, that the experience of the body is transformed and therefore the body becomes transformed. It's a little bit backwards, but how we intuit things, we think that, but I think experience comes first and then matter and then well the thing. So but it's the instrument that picks up all the all the senses and all the stuff. So it's what builds the whole thing. So when we experience that, yeah, that's what I see as the rainbow body. There's no reason why the body would not automatically align or adjust. There's no reason. It's so obviously the right way. Like it's so obviously better than not being aligned. So it just falls into place. Yeah.
Yeah, but then something that I was just about to add about the point that you made right now is that I said that in your case, the body of light will come spontaneously, but that is only because your energetic bodies, causal body, astral body, are already resting in perfection. So it doesn't like if with this rule doesn't apply to causal body or astral body that they would just spontaneously perfect themselves if you are still working with self-delusion and negative emotion and trauma. That doesn't happen. But in your case, because those two, the main bodies, the subtle bodies that store the five poisons, the delusion, attachment, aversion, greed, jealousy, all the negative emotions, fear, anger, pride, selfishness, and so on and so on, because these two are empty and you have removed the traces of these from the physical body, is the reason why the body of light will, in time, appear spontaneously. But it only applies in the case of somebody like you who have finished the subtle bodies. They have been returned to the original pristine condition. And it's really like when you think about it, I have sometimes felt recently that body of light or rainbow body, it sounds so somehow so high flying. And of course it is pretty out there when you think that how different it is, how the mind state is so different, and what we are physically capable when that so-called body of light have been established. I mean, you can be anybody from the world's top extreme athletes or ultra runners or some special forces military specialists, or you can be anybody, but you simply will not be able to you will simply not be able to have constant effortless peace of mind, radiating love and light, unless the three bodies have been returned into the pristine state. It's not a performance, you know.
Right.
So that's the difference, and that's the impressive, astounding bit about this, that what is what. So completely effortlessly expressing who we are, effortlessly, unintentionally, spontaneously. This is what we are talking about. So we'll be curious to see how this integration process of the body, something that I came to a mind, like I don't really know anything about science or science of the physical body, but something that I remember hearing at some point is that it takes 7 years for all the cells of the body to renew. So, but I don't think it will take that long in your case when the body really shines like it does in Amma's case. So I think we are probably thinking of months or year or two instead of 7 years. Anyway, this is like a theory we are working on. Is there something you would like to add about that? I still have one or two questions.
Yes, I think the hypothesis about the 7 years and replenishment, I think also it might be faster with or with maybe with or without practice. But I don't think the cells need to be replaced because or renewed because
Mm.
it's on a more subtle. The spring, say, the well, the energy, it comes from a more subtle place.
Yeah,
The cells themselves are made from it. So
yeah,
yeah, yeah, it's more basic blocks of yeah.
yeah, sure.
Right. Yeah. That's it. Yeah. Mm.
So what about then, now this, before and after your body opened, these few months, you mentioned earlier that when you were working with your causal body, ignorance, wisdom practice, that it was so subtle that even when you finished it, people wouldn't really notice it. But how about now?
Yeah, I think they know. They don't, since I only meet people that I knew all along.
Right.
Um, I don't. They don't say anything, but um, I think they feel a certain difference. Yeah, sure. Yeah, yeah. I mean, I feel that they feel a difference, obviously. Yeah. Yeah, there's I think more than anything that the experience that the effect that I might have on others is like safety more than anything else. I think that's I feel kind of like not needing what they in other interactions they might feel like they need to be somebody more than they are, and maybe this thing I kind of feel uh, is not really there. So that's mm,
Of course, it is. It's a very different situation when, let's say, somebody who has advanced significantly on the spiritual path. When we meet, let's say, family members and friends, relatives who are non-practitioners, that they that in their presence, in their company, at least this is how I felt, that my energy is different. My my mind and my energy doesn't change, but my energy is a bit different. But if it is like a sangha meeting or dharma related event, then my energy starts opening up and flowing much more. So something that I asked you, and well, I actually asked a number of my students who have finished. This was half a year ago when you finished your causal and astral bodies. I asked that. I understand you have small kids, and also you have to keep your wife happy. So you don't have perhaps that much time for dharma activities. But nevertheless, I asked if you and my students in that same stage would start giving these or organizing these satsangs, these simple sharing events. And I'm really curious to hear that when or if you start doing that when, how people react to it, how they, what do they, well, what do they see, like if we think of yourself and myself 20 years ago, okay, as kids, and then you think that you were going to some a representation of presentation of spirituality, yoga, meditation, awakening in Stockholm, like I was going in Helsinki, Finland. And what if you had met somebody like you are today?
mm,
So that's what I'm like. This is where we are realizing what a real gift
mm,
by revealing our basic nature so comprehensively, that what a treasure it is for others. But this is something that I have thought about a lot over the years because, you know, for non-practitioners, it might not be, they don't notice anything. Like you're wearing a completely ordinary shirt, you are not wearing some priest clothes or monk clothes or something that would draw people's attention to you, but you are just ordinary guy wearing ordinary clothes, so people are not really paying attention to you in a, you are doing groceries in a grocery store and waiting, standing there online. People are not paying any attention, any special attention to you. But I'm curious to see how this will be in a dharma setting like satsang, because you know the blessings come effortlessly. The clarity, the softness, the groundedness is effortlessly transmitted. And this is, of course, what a darshan is. Darshan means literally like to see and witness, and to get a spiritual benefit from such a sight. So this will be curious to see in your case and in the case of others who follow, who get to the same stage as you have.
Yes, this point about the context, I think is really that's to me that's very valuable. Yeah, very, because it's very different. I see the effect if I'm in the queue at the supermarket. There, I see it, but nobody will know what's going on.
Mm.
You know. But in a darshan, in a dharma context, whole different story. And as you mentioned, the bless not to say just the blessings will always automatically increase as whenever we talk about the dharma blessings
Yeah,
come our
yeah.
way in a different way. Wonderful. Yeah, this is a great place that we have that we come to. This will be fantastic. Yeah, we have a good opportunity here. Yes. Mm.
Okay. Before we wrap it up, do you have anything else you would like to add up? Are you planning to start these satsangs in Stockholm or?
Yes. So you've asked me to start the Sangha local group, and this is the goal that I had in mind, and this is such a wonderful reminder. Thank you very much for this.
Hmm.
Yeah, very humble to say that I had not remembered that instruction. So that's just marvelous. That fits like a glove. That's perfect to have the darshan around here and start the sangha from there.
Yeah,
We will have the students will have um, let's say visitors will have this material to relate to if they want to have some background, whatever.
yeah, yeah.
Mm. And yeah, if there's something to add, apart from that, I like to talk to people, so reach out to me. I'll try to respond to everybody, whatever question it is. I like to talk about this. So,
How can they get in touch with you?
um, yeah, I'm not great on the social medias and that, but email is best. So I wonder if we can work out a way to. I can say my email here. Uh, Actually, I have this email alias. This is perfect for it. Use this one. Bodhi at attiyoga.se. Bodhi at attiyoga.se. You can reach me there. Yeah. Shoot me an email. Yeah.
An even better way to connect is to come see you in person.
Absolutely. Yeah. For sure. Yeah.
Yeah. All right, we've been at it for nearly 3 hours. So I think that's plenty, and we have covered your life, your path, including your period of madness
Mhm.
and what followed with finishing the different bodies, and we have discussed about your experience during the recent months after the last shift. So I think we have really covered everything at this point. And like I said, will be interesting to see how that integration of the physical body, physical tissues, how that will develop. Maybe
Yeah, I know you had this question before. You wrote me this question, and I kind of had it in the back of my mind, but every time I kind of draw blanks when I try to explain it. But things are developing, things are changing. I just have by the time I find the words for it, already something else has kind of, it's gone more. So it's a little, but I'm staying attentive anyway, and I'm definitely here. So yeah.
so. Thank you, Bodhi, for this. Many blessings to your kids and family or wife. Thank you very much, everybody, for making it all the way, almost 3 hours. Hope you got something out of this. So, like I said when we started, that we have more of this coming in whenever we have more news to tell and more people to interview. But leave a comment or get in touch through the website. Open Heart website is openheartofallbeings.com. We have Facebook group. We have retreats and teachings all the time. Both live teachings that you can join in person or online teachings. So you can learn all these practices that we have mentioned in this and all the other episodes. All the practices you can learn online from your home. So all these practices are available to anybody. And if you resonate what has been shared in this episode and in the previous ones, please take a look, get a taste. And once again, I want to kind of plant a seed in your mind, listeners' minds, is that this enlightenment, it is not some ancient concept, but a very relevant one to me, you, us all. And it is not theory, it is not something that belongs to ancient gurus from India or Tibet or Himalaya, but this is something that, because we all have this fundamental nature, basic nature, is the reason why we can bring it forth and remove the obstacles, delusions, negativity, traumas, and then bring it forth and bring it to the world for others. And I think this is more important now than it ever was, because things are escalating towards more negativity, more selfishness and destruction in the whole world. So we really do need people who exemplify for others what real stability, peace, and real love is. So love beyond borders, love beyond, limitations. We really need people like this. But to have people like that who fully exemplify and demonstrate this perfect love, we need methods that can help us to remove these internal obstacles. So there is no enlightenment without methods. There never was. There never was. And that's why methods and teachings are so important. And like we discussed at some point, this path to full enlightenment is not for everybody. And I don't mean that some people are better for it than others. What I mean by, I said it at some point that, you know, you have to really need it. You have to really need it to have the impetus to go through all the darkness and pain that is stored in your subconscious mind. You need, that drive to drive you through. And that is the thing, that this is why full enlightenment is not for everybody. Doesn't mean, of course, that, for example, the practices that we practice in Open Heart couldn't be practiced by others. But not everybody who practices this method or some other method that works will become full enlightenment because of this fact. You do need that merit, you do need that need to get rid of this, all this internal BS and delusion. And on top of that, you need to be willing to, well, if you have that need, then you do whatever it takes to go through the path and finish the bodies one by one. But I hope that that's not a discouraging thing to hear, but an inspiring one. It's still outstanding that our friend Bodhi here has reached this point after 10 years of layman's practice. So he didn't spend 10 years in a cave. He didn't, we don't have some, this is not special in that sense. So he did his home practice as a layman. He had immense struggles because of his psychosis, mental health issues along the way, but he was able to deal all of it and still go through perfecting the bodies one by one. And this is outstanding, that we have a European 39-year-old fellow who has a family and a house and a job and all these ordinary responsibilities that all lay people have, who has made this far. This is historical. It's not like special in the sense that, oh, it's not like that. But it's just that to establish our natural state to this extent, that is historical. And that is very inspiring for me as well. I think that's it. So thanks, Bodhi. Thanks, everybody, for listening. And see you in the next one. Cheers, everybody.